Welcome back to the Growth Marriage Podcast. My name is Nate Bagley, and I am your resident relationship researcher slash educator slash host of this podcast. On today's episode, we have an interview with Big Rich and DeAnna Millentree. Now, DeAnna just recently finished participating in the Epic Wives Experiment with me, which was an awesome experience with over 250 wives participated. And it was just a really, really fun 1 month that we got to spend together making marriage more awesome. And she reached out to me as we were wrapping up and she's like, oh my gosh, this was such a great experience. By the way, my husband and I just wrote a book on marriage and we have our own marriage website called Growing in Marriage. And it overlaps so much with Growth Marriage. Like we have a lot of the similar values and teach some similar things. And I decided that I wanted to have her and her husband on to talk about some of the things that they think are most important to make a marriage successful. And the one thing that when I asked them, what's the topic you want to talk about the most? They said, I want to talk about standing on your own 2 feet. What does it mean to stand on your own 2 feet? This is a fascinating conversation, a really important one to have. I think you're going to really enjoy it. And I would love to hear what you think. If you want to shoot me a line or drop a message in the comments, if you're watching online, that'd be amazing. I'd love to hear from you. Hope you enjoyed the show. And we're live. How's it going? Big Rich and DeAnna.
Great.
Doing good. How are you doing?
Man, I'm just happy because I'm talking to you.
Wow. Dude, I love that. You already got points on the board.
Ooh, I wasn't even trying to score points. That's unintentional point scoring. So it's been a while since I actually interviewed a couple. So I'm really excited to talk to you. I'm so used to interviewing like therapists and authors. It's been a lot of what I've spent my time on lately. And I love that you are not just a couple, you're a couple with a mission.
Yes.
So I want to start at the beginning, because I feel like this is always a fun place to start and a great way for people to get to know you. Can you talk about how you kind of fell in love?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So we actually met the first day of 10th grade in high school.
She made me.
Okay.
I made you. So I was new to actually, I almost said country. I was new to the state of California. I moved from Arizona. And of course, I didn't know my way around school. So I came late to the 5th period. And we met in Mr. Zwollen's class, which was chemistry. Oh, chemistry.
Ooh, that's a metaphor if I ever saw one.
But we were best friends in high school. We didn't date in high school. And so we actually got together. We decided to make it official whenever we went on our senior trip to Hawaii. So 12 midnight, walking on the beaches of Oahu.
How about that?
We said, hey, let's make this work. So yeah.
And that's when you started dating or when you proposed?
Dating.
Yep. So
oh my gosh, just starting dating is more romantic than some people's proposal. This is amazing. Yeah.
I know it.
Okay, so you guys started dating then on your senior trip?
Yes.
We did,
and
yes.
so we had already graduated, of course. So then
we dated for 3.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then we, in the meantime, DeAnna was going to school. I was going to school. And 3.5 years of dating, then we decided, okay, it's time to get married. So we got married in 1995, December.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Been hit for 24 years. So I want to ask you both the same question.
Yeah.
And I'd love to just kind of hear like a quick summary of what is it about your partner? Let's start with you, Rich. What was it about DeAnna's character, like who she is, that made you think, I want to spend the rest of my life with this human?
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to ask me something else. I love her bubbly personality. I love that Nate, she is my best friend in the whole entire world. That I think is one of the tent poles in our relationship, that she's just my best friend. And I absolutely love that. And I know that a lot of couples, their spouse isn't their best friend. And while that's okay, DeAnna just happens to be mine. So her personality is bubbly. She is always upbeat. She is always where, like, I know I can be a grump sometimes. I can get in my grumpy moods and all of that. And DeAnna, she throws out these bids for attention and, these repair tactics. And I'm just like, how can I say no to you? You're so stinking cute and funny. And so that's definitely my answer, hands down, where I just knew I was like, I can't let her get away. And then also on top of that, I love, like, she's gorgeous. Look at her. Yeah,
Sweet.
I'm lucky. I'm the one that married up.
Make me blush.
So that's kind of how I would answer that question.
I love it.
Okay.
I love that you believe you're lucky. And we'll get to you in just a second, DeAnna. I want to dig deep into this a little bit.
Yeah.
Friendship, huge. Like
Totally.
it's so important. Like I think that's the foundation of every marriage. So I love that you guys have a strong friendship. That's such a beautiful, beautiful thing to say. And I really appreciate that you feel lucky, man. Like one of the things that I believe in firmly is that the happiest couples are almost delusionally happy. DeAnna participated in the Epic Wives experiment with me, and
Loved it.
There's a day where we talk about being your partner's pickle. And pickle it's an acronym for the three qualities that are kind of like present in the happiest relationships. And the C is commitment and the L is love, but the PI is positive illusions. And positive illusions are these feelings like, I'm the luckiest man in the world. Nobody's got as good as we do. Like we freaking scored. Can you imagine like being married to somebody else? No way. This is where it's at. Nobody else gets to experience what we experience. We're so lucky. And I think that is the fact that you mentioned that right out of the gate just like gave me a little bit of goosebumps to think like that's how you show up in the world. I think that's amazing.
I love it. I totally feel that way. Like I am just super blessed that she's my wife. Totally.
I love it. Okay, I'm going to volley it over the net. I want to hear from you now, DeAnna.
Okay, I feel the same. I feel very fortunate, very blessed as well. He's so kind and he's very funny. He's the one that can make me laugh the hardest to the point where I pee my pants. So yeah. So he's a lot very kind-hearted, very compassionate towards people as well. And I feel like where I struggle with seeing the best in people right off, it comes natural to him. So it makes me feel like something I can achieve to aspire to be someone that is more easier to, what's the words I'm looking for? Quickly to just accept people the way they are.
Yeah. Give me a story. Like, where's a story that can you recall one off the top of your head of where you just saw him show up that way and you're like, oh man, this is awesome.
Oh yeah. Okay. So there's so many, but I'll pick one. So
cool.
Sometimes my first reaction is to judge, and I don't want to be that way, but he'll come to me like there was a homeless person and I'm like, where is he at? I was in the car already. I'm like, where'd he go? He went over to we were at a grocery store and he went over next door to the, I think it was a Chinese food restaurant. It was years ago. And he bought this man food without telling me. And he just walks over and he gives it to him. I'm just like, man, how come I can't be like that? Easy to, quickly wanting to help somebody instead of just looking, just barely looking at them and stuff. So he's really made me recognize in myself that there's things that I need to be more proactive in and, looking people in the eye and being able to, instead of being so busy and tunnel vision, to be able to look and see what the whole picture is and to be able to appreciate people for who they are and not get stuck in my own little rut and thinking, okay, don't bother me because I'm too busy or whatever.
That's beautiful.
That's one of the beautiful things.
That's a great story.
I love it. Yeah. And here's the crazy thing though, too, Nate, because I all the time, my wife and my kids, and I know that this is just me. Like a lot of times I get this look on my face that's just stoic. And I can't help it. It's just how my face looks, right? Mm-hmm. And I try to be more aware of it, and I do pretty well. And I want to smile or I want to grin every now and then. But sometimes DeAnna just looks over at me, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm in a great mood," and she's like, "Well, you better let your face know."
Yeah, tell your face.
It's not coming through right now.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that you bring out the best in each other.
Totally.
So you've been married for 24 years.
Mm-hmm.
You got how many kids do you have?
2. We have a 21-year-old son and a 16-year-old daughter.
Okay. Those are fun ages.
Oh, totally.
Yes.
And challenging.
Very challenging.
Yeah. I guarantee.
Like when our son was like a teenager, I felt, okay, this is kind of rough, but his personality is just like mine. So I understood him more. Now our daughter is just like him and she's 16. I'm like, oh, are we going to make it through this? Lord help us.
Yeah, I feel like every stage presents its brand new set of challenges. And just when you feel like, I don't know, like I'm about to be a parent, but even just during pregnancy, it's like the moment I start to kind of get into a rhythm and feel like things are going well and we're kind of got it figured out, it's like something changes. And it keeps you on your toes. So my guess is that over these last 24 years, raising kids, being married, going through a myriad of different experiences that you've had your ups and downs. You've gone through like stuff together. And when I reached out to you and asked you what you wanted to talk about today, you kind of chose a really interesting theme that I love. You said, I want to talk about standing on your own 2 feet. Mm-hmm. What does it mean? Yeah. So what does it mean to you guys to stand on your own 2 feet? Why was that a theme that you wanted to talk about today? And
because I think in marriage, it's absolutely important that we do this. And I love the work of David Schnarch. He is a renowned therapist. He's got massive credentials. I mean, his work is just amazing. And this concept of standing on your own 2 feet really came from Mr. Schnarch. And what I love about this concept of standing on your own 2 feet is that, when we first met each other, and typically in marriage, it starts to fade. But when you first meet each other, you look at your spouse or you look at your girlfriend, and you're like, wow, she's amazing. She's an executive at her company. She plays softball on the weekends. Like, she's just doing it. And I just love it. And that's part of the thing that attracts you to your spouse. And then you look the opposite way. The wife looks at her boyfriend or whatever and says the exact same thing. So you come into marriage and you're both kind of standing on your own 2 feet. But what typically happens is you start to depend on each other in marriage to make each other happy. And you stop standing on your own 2 feet and you start leaning into each other to make one another happy. And the secret sauce, quote unquote, because it's really not a secret, is when you learn to go back and stand on your own 2 feet, the thing that made you so incredibly attractive and what attracted you to your spouse and your spouse to you, that becomes the place where things take on a whole new dynamic in the relationship. So example of standing on your feet would be just stating what you want, right, and not going around the bush or beating around the bush trying to get what you want. Right. Let's just say it. A funny analogy that my wife and I use in marriage. And, if you were to say, you know what, honey, let's just be a little sexual for a minute, because married couples can be sexual.
Let's lean into it.
So if I tell my wife and say, honey, you know what? I would love for you, when we are having our time, we're making love, I really want you to just lick my elbows. And she looks at me and she's like, you're disgusting. Why would you ever want that? And then us guys, what's the first thing we say? No, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to see what you would say.
Right.
No, you're not kidding. You really want your elbows to be licked, slathered and licked down.
Right on the weenus.
Right? Yes, right there. Right there. But we don't say that. We cower away from it. And if we learn to stand on our own 2 feet and then invite our spouse into that space of our hearts, we give them an opportunity to meet us there. Doesn't mean that we're going to get what we want all the time, but it does mean that I get to be authentically myself. And I get to stand up and be the kind of man or the kind of woman that we want to be. And I think that's vitally important.
I love that. I love David Schnarch.
So do I.
His book, Passionate Marriage, unreal.
Yes.
And I just got his new book. Oh, it's not a new book, but he just re-released a book called Intimacy and Desire.
Yes.
And I just started reading that again. And I'm just like, every page is just like,
isn't it great? Yeah.
So good. Yeah. So I'm assuming you guys hadn't mastered this principle early on in your relationship.
Oh no.
Can you take me back to the beginnings of your relationship when maybe you were doing more of the leaning on each other, and tell me kind of what life looked like?
Yeah, 100%. Do you want to share?
Yeah. So for me, this is something that, and I even shared a little bit in the Epic Weiss experiment as well, is that, I used to get so upset because I felt like he should know what I need. And so whether it be helping out with laundry or helping out with the kids or whatever it may be, I used to think, well, you should know already. So why do I have to say anything to you? So I would keep quiet, and then it would come out in just irritation, frustration. I would blow up, and I'm the screamer in the relationship, and he's like really calm. And we really had to work that. We have worked that out, thank God.
Yeah. Okay. Walk me through, can you remember a specific instance where you were kind of in that mindset
Of
read my mind, man.
Oh yeah. Okay. So whenever I get out of the, taking out the trash, if I got somebody coming over, and I'll ask him, hey, can you take out the trash for me? And I'm not specific. I just say, can you take out the trash? In my mind, I'm thinking, he should know that I'm a very capable human being, and I will work myself into the bone. And if I'm asking you to take out trash, this is a huge thing, because normally I would just do it myself.
Right.
So if he waits, 15, 20 minutes and the trash isn't done, I'm just like, what the heck, dude? How come the trash isn't done? And get all upset and mad. And he's like, you didn't tell me a time. And I'm thinking, the people are coming over at 5:00. It's 4:30. Why isn't it done?
Right.
So
Chop.
Yeah.
Right.
So me not stating what I need, and a lot of that also is me not voicing my expectations.
Yeah.
And that way we can discuss it, because just because I tell him my expectations doesn't mean that he's going to meet me there. He may have something going on that he can't meet me there. But at least we're communicating about it and discussing it and being able to say, okay, well, maybe I can't do it this way. Maybe I can't get the trash done at 4:30, but I can at 4:35. Is that okay with you? So
I remember a time too, Nate, where we were, I did not always enjoy day trips. Yeah. And DeAnna loves day trips. And we planned a day trip to go to the beach. And we were both looking forward to it. It was going to be a great time away. And 20 minutes into our day trip, DeAnna asks a question. And I couldn't tell you what the question was. I just remember that it was a very hot topic. And it ruined our entire time together until about a third of the way back home. I'm not even joking you.
No, I get it.
It sucked.
It's so ridiculous. But we do this as couples, right? And my whole thing was there were certain things that I just did not want to talk about. Hot topic. And then there were certain things that I wanted to do. And one of the things that we love to do in the car, that's our talk time. That's my jam. When we can talk in the vehicle on our way, and we can go deep with each other, come back to the surface, just like wonderful blue whales that we can come up to the surface and go down if we want to. But we didn't stop at Starbucks, which is something that we typically do.
And I'm like, where's my chai?
And I'm expecting her to know, hey, don't bring this subject up. Make sure we stop at this place. Oh, stop at this place. And then we're going to go and have a wonderful time. And it all fell apart. And it wasn't until the train left the station, because I could no longer control in my own self, bring it back. It's okay. Let's work this out. Forgive one another. The train left the station and I could not get it back. And by the time I was able to get the train back, we literally were at the beach, packing our stuff up. On our way home, I asked my wife to forgive me, and can we try again? So it can be difficult. It is difficult. But had I just in the moment said, you know what, honey, I didn't share with you that I don't want to talk about this topic. I didn't express my expectations of I wanted to do X, Y, and Z on this trip. And I set my own self up for disappointment, because if you don't talk about unvoiced expectations are really just planned disappointments. So if I don't talk about it, if we don't chat about it, I am planning on being disappointed. And we were.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's worth repeating. Unvoiced expectations are just planned disappointments. Unplanned.
That's exactly it. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. It reminds me of Terry Real has a book called The New Rules of Marriage. And my wife and I have just like one of the rules that he talks about, we just glommed onto it. And he says, you're not allowed to complain about not getting something that you never asked for.
Oh, that's so true.
good.
Yeah. And that a complaint is just complaint. Yeah. Essentially that complaining about something that you never asked for. And so it's like, it's a cop out to asking for what you want, stepping into that vulnerability.
Right.
That's the opposite of standing on your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's fast forward then. You started learning more about standing on your own 2 feet through, I'm sure, a myriad of lots of different ways. What does it look like for you now? Tell me about like a day in the life of your relationship where what you're doing differently to show that you're standing on your own 2 feet.
Yeah. So I think for me, one of the main things is being open and honest about what's going on inside of my heart. Not trying to control the outcome, trying to manipulate my wife to get what I want, or to, a friend of mine, Dr. Corey Allen, talks about this two-choice dilemma. And I think David Schnarch talks about this as well. But, I can tell my wife all the time, hey, I want to go to Disneyland on vacation. And she's just like, I really don't want to go to Disneyland. And, I get a choice. My wife gets a choice. And me standing on my own 2 feet is saying, hey, I want to go to Disneyland, but I'm not going to steal your choice away from you. And as married couples, I think a lot of times we like to steal our partner's choice. And so I'll tell my wife, or used to say to my wife, well, let's go to Disneyland. But when we go, I want you to be happy when we get there. Like, I can't control that. That's her responsibility. And if she chooses to go to Disneyland with me, and we choose that, and we agree upon that, then I would hope that even if she doesn't want, that's not her favorite place to be, that she's going to show up and bring her best self with her. But that's her choice. And I have to give her the freedom to make that choice, just like she does with me. So that's what standing on our own 2 feet looks like now in our relationship, is giving each other space to meet us in our own individual orbits. And if we do come together, we'll make this orbit together. Marriage is so interesting. It's so wonderful because we each bring our own orbit or our own way of looking at things, our own dimension to the relationship. DeAnna sees through her Taylor lenses because her maiden name is Taylor. I see through my Millentree lenses. But if we can learn to harness that third dynamic of us coming together and learning how to use both of those together, it creates this third dynamic that is absolutely powerful and will take us exponentially further in our relationship than we can ever go individually on our own.
Yeah. I remember too, when we first started dating, I'm much more action, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
I like to drive fast cars. I like to go, water skiing if I can. Usually it's tubing. I like to at least do adventurous stuff. And that's not him. He would rather be in if we were to go skiing, he would rather be in the lodge, having a coffee, reading a good book.
Absolutely.
So I used to, and I want him to go with me because I enjoy him being with me. And I used to feel that if I didn't include him, that he would be mad, or that, one of us would suffer whenever it was all said and done. If he said, oh no, it's okay to go. But then if he sulks afterwards, there would be some of that going on too. So,
and she couldn't enjoy herself.
Right. Because I'd be anxious and thinking, okay, well, he's going to be either calling me or, whatever. And something's going to end up happening in the end. And it's not going to be good at all. It's going to be a sour trip, basically. And so the more mature we became and the more and me realizing that I can still go and have a good time, and we can talk about it and say, hey, if I go, is this going to be messing anything? Are you going to be upset that I'm going? And I don't want to come home to, you upset that I'm not there or whatever, so just being able to, both of us learning how to self-soothe on our own ways of doing things. Like what do I need to do? So one of my ways of self-soothing is I'll pray. I'll think of the good things and think of things that are not negative. Because if I continue to think of negative things, then it just
You spiral.
Yes, I do. So just being more, getting more information into us, and doing reading things and doing life groups and stuff, and just really being able to learn more things has really helped us to learn to stand on our own 2 feet.
Can I give you another example of that, Nate?
Please.
Okay, so in the early stages of our marriage, DeAnna would go out to the grocery store. This is a very real life example for us. Well, everything that we said so far has been, but go out to the grocery store, and she would go at any time at night. And at night, as a man, I'm thinking to myself, this is what I would tell myself. Hey, no, I don't want you to go to the grocery store. And she'd say, why? And I'd say, well, just because I don't want you to go. We'll just go tomorrow. How about we go tomorrow? And she's like, well, I can go today. Why can't I go to the grocery store right now? I need to get some of this stuff done. And I'm like, hey, seriously, come on. Just kick back. Come on, watch TV. We'll go to the grocery store later. And, she would probe, and she would say, well, is there a legitimate reason why you don't want me to go? And I'd say, well, because I don't want something to happen to you. I don't want you to get hurt, which is complete and total BS. She is a grown woman. She was going to the grocery store at night long before we got married, and she is capable of going to the grocery store on her own. So what's happening in that situation is I have fears and anxieties of my own that are going on inside of me. But instead of me saying to my wife, honey, it makes me nervous when you go out to the grocery store at night, not because I don't think that you can take care of yourself, but because I have some anxiety. Because when I was younger, something happened in my past where my mom was held up at a grocery store late at night. And every time you go out, I get taken immediately back to that place, and I just want to control the situation. If I don't ever have that kind of honest, standing on my own 2 feet communication, I'm always going to hide behind inauthenticity, hide behind lies, hide behind control, hide behind all of these things to manipulate my wife. And that always is going to impede and prevent us from truly having intimacy in our relationship.
That's really interesting. I remember a David Schnarch quote. I'm going to paraphrase, but he basically said people who can't control themselves, like their own thoughts and their own emotions, automatically try and control others.
Absolutely. They try to control everything. A person who is not in control of anything will try to control everything. Yep.
And so here you are, you were not in control when your mom got robbed, and you're scared that you're going to lose your wife, and all that's outside your control. So rather than trying to soothe yourself and take ownership of your own anxiety, the thing you do is try and control your wife.
Right. Yeah.
That's a powerful example. And I think it requires a level of awareness to be able to identify that is happening. So I'm glad that we're talking about this right now. So I'm seeing that there's 2 different parts of standing on your own 2 feet. One is taking responsibility for what's yours. Yep. One is saying okay, this is my anxiety, this is my worry, this is my bad mood, this is my stress that I have to deal with right now, and not put it on my partner.
Yes.
And on the flip side, there's this is my partner's anxiety, my partner's depression, my partner's worry, my partner's stress. And I have a tendency, this is my big weakness, to take my partner's stuff and put it on me and make myself responsible for it. So
this does your spouse such a disservice.
Yeah. And it just barely happened. And I handled it better today than I have in quite a while. But my wife is right now, she's a little stressed out. She's trying to, she got put in charge of managing the schedule for the floor of nurses. She's got 50 nurses, and she needs to make sure that they have enough nurses to cover the floor every single day for the next couple of months. And she's realizing that a lot of nurses are gone on summer vacation, and they're on a hiring freeze right now. And they've had 1 or 2 nurses quit. And so they're very short staffed, and she's very overwhelmed. She's very stressed, and she's in a cranky mood. and I could feel it. And I went downstairs to make myself lunch, and she was just like, there's, the negative energy, the like,
Yes.
yeah, it was like walking into a cloud.
Yes.
And I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, no. And I'm like, oh man, is there something I can do for you? And she's like, no. And I'm like, oh geez. And I went right into, my first instinct was to go into fix it mode. What can I do? Have you been meditating? Do you need to spend some time journaling? Have you done your exercises today? Are you drinking enough water? And I caught myself halfway through and I said, you know what? This isn't about me, right? And she goes, no. And I said, great.
Nope.
If you want to have a conversation with me about it, or if I can do anything to support you, you just let me know. And I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust you to handle this on your own.
Yes.
And I said, would it be helpful if I took care of dinner tonight? And she goes, yeah, that'd be great. And I said, great. I got dinner. If you need anything else from me, you let me know. And other than that, I'm just going to let you figure this out for yourself.
Yeah.
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 That's so good.
I was like, oh, I did it. Like, I feel like now I have something to talk to Big Rich and DeAnna about. I'm standing on my own feet. But like these things come up all the time, like I had a conversation a few months ago with this girl, this woman who's like, I just want my husband to empty the dishwasher without me asking. And I want him to be happy about it.
We can't control that.
Like, why can't he just do it without me asking and be happy about it? Then I would be happy.
Right.
Yeah.
What is the problem with that? Because I think a lot of people can relate to that thought of like, I want my husband or my wife to help me out with a specific thing. I want them to have a good attitude about it. I want them to see the need and just take care of it without me having to ask. Why is that not standing on your own 2 feet?
Yeah. So a couple things in that situation. So one, and I have a great resource for anyone who may be struggling with that too, because that is called, there's this huge mental load that women carry in their relationship, especially domestically, as they're taking care of the kids, as they're cleaning the house and so forth and so on. And yeah, you look at your spouse and you're like, I shouldn't even have to tell you to empty the dishwasher. Yeah. Why do I have to tell you?
You see the need.
Right? But the reality is you do have to tell us. Now, you're not always going to have to tell us, but you do have to begin to start to tell us. And when you do, you have to let go and let us learn to struggle through it, to fail through it, to how am I ever going to get good at giving my kids a bath if every time I fail that you jump in and say, oh, you know what, I'll just go ahead and do it. Or I'm unloading the dishwasher and I'm not doing it the right way. You say, you know what, just back up. I'll go ahead and take care of it.
Yeah.
It's impossible. So learning to stand on your own 2 feet in that situation is being honest with yourself and letting your spouse in and saying, I feel overwhelmed here. Yeah. And here's what you can do to help me out. I realize that I haven't shared this with you before. I feel like I shouldn't even have to share this because it's obvious what's going on. But it's obvious for me. I'm not you. So I need your help here. And this resource that I was just mentioned just a couple seconds ago, Dr. Morgan Cutlip, who we just absolutely love. She developed a new resource called the Mental Load. And you can get that resource, her website. Is it okay if I share her website?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so her website is LoveThinks.
MyLoveThinks.com.
LoveThinks.com. And if I have that wrong, her Instagram is MyLoveThinks.
Yeah, I'm looking at her website right now. It's mylovethinks.com.
MyLoveThinks.com. Fantastic resource. Dr. Morgan is absolutely incredible too. And but addressing things like this and learning to stand on your own 2 feet in this situation, part of it is taking a step back. And I love that you did that with your wife too, Nate. And you recognize that I don't have to pick up your anxieties to feel better about the situation. I don't have to set myself on fire to keep everybody else warm at my own detriment. That this is your anxiety. I'm doing you a huge disservice by jumping in and dealing with it for you. But you asked her, which I love this, how can I support you?
Yeah.
And that's her opportunity to say, man, if you could make dinner for me, if you could unload the dishwasher for me, if you could put the kids to bed tonight, that would really help me. And gives her an opportunity to dive into whatever anxiety she's dealing with and handle it in a way that's healthy and comfortable for her.
Yeah.
And hopefully she'll invite you into that space as well.
Yeah. And I want to talk about why that is a disservice, why it is a disservice to jump in. Because I think some people would think like, oh, it's an act of love. Like one of the jobs as my that I have as a partner is to take care of the needs of the person that I love. And if I put my partner's needs before my own, and they put their needs before my needs before their own, then we're going to have a great marriage because we're just taking care of each other all the time.
There's truth to that.
There's truth in it, but it's not. But it's not the truth.
Correct.
Right.
So a lot of. Is it okay for me to jump in here? I'm sorry, I cut you off. Okay.
No, you're good.
So. We get couples, and you probably get this as well. Couples will come and say, you know what, my marriage is broken. There's something wrong with my marriage. And we wholeheartedly believe that the way that God designed and intended marriage is absolutely perfect. There's nothing wrong with the marriage. What's happening is your marriage is putting pressure on you to grow. And this is where growing in marriage came out of.
Yeah.
And so what's happening is when you feel all of these different pressures and you feel all of these different things, yes, it would be nice for your spouse to jump in and to help you serve. But the moment they do that, they stop you from growing and becoming your best self and who you were designed and purposed to be. That's the biggest problem in that.
Right. Because then essentially what you're teaching them is to become reliant on you to save them. Instead of gaining the capacity and the resilience to save themselves.
Yep.
Right.
And if you're always the savior, there's going to get a point. There's going to become a point will come in your relationship where you're not around to save them.
Absolutely.
Right.
And they're stuck at that point.
Then they're stuck and they're in a big world of hurt. And that can be a massive disservice.
Yes.
Right.
I love that. I love that you guys are on the growth. You're on the Growth Marriage podcast right now.
Yes.
But you guys are growing in marriage. And I love that our visions align so much. It's like
so good. Huh?
Yeah.
So good.
You guys nailed it. I love it. This is such a great topic to talk about.
I love it. Yeah.
I just think about like all the different ways that we can learn to stand on our own 2 feet. You know, my wife came. So this is like, I don't know how far back to go on this story, but it's relevant. My wife read a book when we first got married called The Surrendered Wife by Laura Doyle. And in the book, she talks about how she realized in her marriage, she was turning into her husband's mother and no longer being his wife. And that she was starting to treat him like a child, and then their relationship was suffering because of it. And she committed that she was only going to do things that would make her feel more like his girlfriend than his wife. And so she kind of came to him and said, look, we need to talk about the roles and responsibilities in our marriage right now. And there's some things that I don't want to do that I've been doing. And she kicked off a bunch of stuff. And she surrendered control of things that were outside of her control, like how her husband dresses. And it was really hard for her. Like one of the things she handed off was bills. She's like, I don't want to pay the bills anymore. It stresses me out. It doesn't make me my best self. And she's like, the electricity got turned off like twice. And I just didn't freak out. And my husband handled it and got it turned back on and learned.
That's so great.
I'm not going to swoop in and save him. But there's one specific story that she talks about at the very beginning of the book where she hated that her husband was wearing like this nasty, ratty, old, holy underwear. And she's like, I'm going to buy my husband new underwear. And then she's like, wait, my husband's a grown freaking man.
Absolutely.
He can buy his own underwear. If he likes wearing that underwear, he can wear it. And my wife, we had just gotten married and my wife had seen my underwear and it had seen better days.
Yes.
And she's like, I'm literally just going to go. Yeah. She's like, I was just literally just going to go buy you new underwear. And then I read that in the book and I was like, I'm just going to see what happens. I'm just going to see what happens. Within the week, I came home with a bag full of new underwear and she just started laughing. I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, you buy your own underwear. And I'm like,
absolutely.
What are you talking about? And she's like, you're a grown man. You can take care of yourself.
Yes.
And we had a good laugh out of it. And then it came full circle like 2 weeks ago. She was on a Facebook group, and there is a wives only Facebook group. And this woman was complaining about her husband's underwear. And she's like, I don't understand how my husband can stand wearing this underwear. What do I do? Should I go buy him new underwear? Like, what if I get him the wrong underwear? And there's all these other women saying like, yeah, you need to make sure he's wearing clean underwear. Like all these women reinforcing, treat your husband like a child, treat your husband like a child. And then my wife jumped on and shared her little story. And she's like, he is a big boy. He's an adult. If he wasn't married to you, he'd still find a way to wear clean underwear or new underwear. Like he'd figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's those little things that I think are worth talking about of like, what are the things that you're doing that are making you overfunction or take too much responsibility that isn't yours?
Right.
Yes.
Oh, yes. You're raising your hand. Kate, speak.
Okay. So this is just something that I think we finally resolved within the last 6 months. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I have always done, like, I was a stay-at-home mom after our second child. And then, and it was great. Everything was good. I took care of everything. It was all good. But then now I work full time, and I only was able to be a stay-at-home mom for like 3.5 years. And I was like, okay, someone's going to end up dying, so I need to go back to work. I need some adult conversation. So I would take it upon myself. Like I did all the laundry. I did all the cleaning, all of that. The kids would have their chores and whatnot. They did their own laundry, but I was still doing his laundry, and I'd get frustrated and overwhelmed. And it's okay. You know, he would be benefiting from it because he's getting clean laundry and everything. Everything's all hunky dory. But then I was stewing, and I was just lashing out, being mad. You don't help me with anything. Could you please just fold this laundry, at least help put it away and stuff? And so finally he's like, I can do my own laundry. And at first I'm like, are you sure? What? What's going to happen?
Say it again.
You're not doing my laundry, you know? So it was, and then finally, and he had said it a couple of times. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And finally, he
literally, throughout the course of over the years, I've said, don't do my laundry. I'll take care of it.
And I'm like, no, he's not going to take care of it. You know, it's going to be all crazy. So finally, about 6 months ago, he's like, I'm serious. Do not touch my laundry. I'm doing my own laundry. And so I'm like, okay. So he got his own laundry basket. I have my own laundry basket. And I'll tell you, Nate, this has been wonderful. It has been awesome.
He liberated you.
Yeah, he did. And I'm like, the world does function right. And he's actually has clean clothes, and he's got his own little Tide Pods that he wants to do. And so he keeps them to himself. And
Look at him standing on his own 2 feet. And you standing on your own 2 feet.
Yes,
I am standing on my own 2 feet, Dave.
As long as you're not eating those Tide Pods, we're good.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
They're not snacks. They're for washing clothes.
That's true. Don't eat them.
I love that.
I share one more resource as well, because I feel like if I don't, because I really want to share this. So a buddy of mine, I mentioned before, Dr. Corey Allen, and his website is sexymarriageradio.com. He wrote a book called Naked Marriage. And that book talks a lot about Schnarch's principles. Of course, Corey makes them his own. He folds his own stuff in there. Obviously, we take from a lot of different people. But in this book, Naked Marriage, that Corey wrote, a lot of what we're talking about is in there. And he just brings a lot of this stuff to light and puts words to it where we didn't necessarily have language for it before. And maybe we did, but it was in his book, he brings it out in very practical, very actionable ways. And I think it would be a fantastic resource. And his website is a fantastic resource, and his podcast as well, for people to look at. Yeah.
I will make sure to add links to those resources in the description of the video and on the website. I know there's an app called The Anatomy of Marriage.
Oh yeah.
And I think
Seth and Melanie Studley.
What was that?
Seth and Melanie Studley.
Is that who does
right?
that?
Yep.
I don't know. It's a really cool app. I've got it on my phone, and it's got a lot of great resources in it. But I'm pretty sure that one of their go-to experts is Corey Allen, and he's
Yes.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, speaking of books and resources, you guys just, not just, but you more recently just published a book, right?
May 1st. Yeah.
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 Is it called Face to Face?
It is called Face to Face. Yeah. And really, it's a book of conversation starters for couples. Can I explain a little bit about
Please,
it?
plug away, my man.
Thank you. And we wrote this book out of just our desire to see couples connect more on an emotional level, to stop spending time on the surface. Not that the surface is bad, but a lot of couples are looking to go underneath the surface more. At least one person in the marriage usually is, and then come back up to the surface. So you don't have to spend a lot of time in deep waters, but I think that you rob one another of a piece of your heart if you don't spend a little time there.
Yeah.
So this book is written in a very lighthearted way. So you could spend all your time on the surface, but you can go deep with some of the follow-up questions that we've included as well. And we wrote the book in such a way that if you wanted to, you can do a question a day. There's enough questions in this book for every single day of the year, including a leap year, and 30 bonus questions on top of that. And then after every
love me some bonus
every 30 days, there's a fun little pop quiz that's included. So we pick 5 random questions. And the purpose of the pop quiz is how did your spouse answer this question? And it's an opportunity for you guys to look. And if you get it right, it's a time for you to celebrate, because you always celebrate the wins. You look for every excuse to celebrate the win. And if you don't get it so right, it's a time to go back and dive back into it maybe a little bit.
I love it.
So, yeah, and all kinds of stuff.
And we also provide it because, like you said, some people don't know how to go deeper or aren't willing to go deeper. We also included questions at the back of the book to help you guide you through that as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And this to me, like this interview is going full circle. Like the very first thing y'all talked about was how important it is to have a strong foundation of friendship in your marriage.
Totally.
And I'm a firm believer that one of the 3 pillars of friendship is I know you. Whenever I teach about friendship, I talk about I know you, I like you, and I have your back.
I love that.
And I know you is all about like, I know what's going on in your world. I know what's important to you. I know it's stressing you out. I know what your dreams are. And sometimes we forget to like ask those questions. And this book sounds like a fantastic resource to make sure that pillar of your friendship stays very, very strong. Because the last thing you want to do is wake up one day and stare across the bed and realize you're married to a stranger.
Right.
Oh,
yes. Exactly.
And it happens, man. It happens.
It does. All the time.
So sad.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So where can they get the book?
On our website, go to growinginmarriage.com. Actually, that's the only place that you can get it, which I absolutely love that.
Yes.
So you go to growinginmarriage.com, you can get it there. And of course, there's links on our social media. If you want to follow us on Instagram or Facebook, it's also Growing in Marriage, both places.
I love it.
You can get it there as well. Yeah.
So I'm going to issue a challenge. So this is going to be on YouTube, and anybody who comes and comments on YouTube, let's say in the next like 2 or 3 weeks after that, this will start when the podcast goes live. If anybody's watching live right now, you can get a head start on this, but I want people to like leave a comment down below of something that they enjoyed or just that they want to read the book. And I will send a free copy to the commenters on the YouTube video.
That's awesome. I'll match your free copy and send another one. So we'll do 2.
2 free copies. Perfect.
2 free copies. Yes.
So if y'all want one of these resources to help kind of strengthen that I know you pillar, strengthen your friendship in your marriage, make sure that you're plugged into each other, just comment down below in the YouTube video. There'll be links to get the book if you want to buy it. And if you want a free copy, just leave a comment and we'll see if we can win you one.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love it.
Awesome.
Thank you, Nate.
You guys are fantastic. Before we go, is there any last advice that you want to give to husbands or wives or couples who are listening?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
My number one thing is state your expectations, because just like we said before, unvoiced expectations are planned disappointment. So that's the huge thing.
Yeah. And what I would say is make your spouse your priority. It doesn't matter. We give the best of ourselves to our jobs, to other people, to different charities, our kids. Make your spouse your priority and be intentional about that relationship. And that means doing things like face-to-face or going to marriage conferences, having regular date nights, having vacations or day trips. If you can learn to do that and put your spouse at the top of the list so they get the best of you, it will dramatically change the intimacy in your relationship, and you'll always be continually growing in your marriage.
Yeah.
I love that. One of my best friends is an English teacher, and he corrected me a couple of weeks ago on I had written the word priorities and made it plural. And he's like, you don't realize this, but it wasn't until just very recently that the word priority became a plural. And he's like, there's no such thing as multiple priorities. You have one priority.
Right.
So prior, like the root of the word means the singular most important thing.
Yes.
Right.
And you can't have two or three or more most important things. There's one most important thing. And I love that you talk about making your partner a priority. And I think one of the biggest struggles that I hear the most, and I guarantee you guys hear this a lot, is people talk about, we've got kids, we've got work, we've got all these other distractions, and they're pulling our attention away from our marriage, and we just don't have time for each other. And to me, like, that is a choice.
Totally.
It is a choice to get involved in extracurriculars that demand too much of your time. It is a choice to work a job that has really long hours. And granted, you may not be able to walk away from those choices right now, but you can start to make choices down the line that help you create a life where your marriage can be your priority.
Yes.
Your kids are going to move out one day and you're going to be left with your partner. And if you haven't done the work and made them a priority, you're going to be very lonely.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Great advice. You get one priority, make it your marriage.
That's it.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Love it.
Nice.
Well, you guys are fantastic. I could talk to you all day.
Thank you so much. We would love that.
Yes.
We got to come to Utah and do something and just get together and hang for a little bit.
Heck yeah. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
And then we'll do a little trip out to California and we'll come visit you guys.
That works too. That works too.
You guys are fantastic. Well, thank you for joining me today. And I hope everybody checks out your book. It sounds really awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nate. Appreciate you.
You bet.
All right.
If you just walked up to a stranger in the street right now and said, hey, what do I need to do to make sure that my relationship withstands the test of time, that I have an amazing, amazing relationship? I guarantee you, one of the first things they would say is go on dates together. Everybody knows it. You got to go on dates if you want to have an extraordinary relationship. But if you're like most people, your dating life might have taken a bit of a hit lately. Maybe you're not going on as many dates as you were when you first met, or maybe the dates that you are going on are a little bit boring. Maybe you feel like you're stuck in a bit of a rut and you're just kind of doing the same old thing over and over again. If that's the case, I have a gift for you. If you go to getfreedates.com, I am going to send you 5 free dates. Once a week, you're going to get a date for the next 5 weeks, and that date is going to include a game plan. I'm going to send you amazing activities. I'm going to send you links to products and games that you can play together. I'm going to send you treats that you can make together or that you can buy and enjoy that you probably haven't ever had before. I'm going to send you conversation starters that are questions or topics of conversation. They're going to make sure that this date is a connecting experience, that you laugh, that you have fun, and that you feel more connected by the end of the date than you did when you began. That is what dating is all about. It's not about the boring routine. It's about implementing some novelty, some surprise, some excitement, and getting to know your partner on a much deeper level. And I am going to send you 5 of those dates. All you have to do is go to getfreedates.com, type in your name and email address, and I'll send you 1 date every week for 5 weeks. I want you to have an amazing relationship, and I want you to continue to date each other, and this is my way of helping you out. So just go to getfreedates.com and sign up.